Let's pray and we'll get started. Father, thank you for your day. Lord, thank you for everybody who's able to be here. Please help those who are not to learn these things, to be diligent about them. Help us to learn them well so we can thrive on our exam, but also just to know them. Some of these are very, very core things, and they're also important in understanding the order that you've made the universe and on this earth. There's just nothing random. There's nothing by chance. To see your good plan, your good design, and your majesty in all of creation. We pray this in Jesus' name. Well, okay. So we are on arthropods, but before we do that, just don't close everything, but just don't look. Okay? Here's what I want you to be thinking about. It's the same old in many ways, right? Oh, I did forget one. Okay. What's A? Okay, what's B?
Bacteria. Virus. Fungus. Plants. Animals.
Start over again. What's this?
Virus. Arc.
Plants. Okay. Simplest animals. I'll take anything. Just as long as you're describing the simplest of animals. Huh?
Sponges.
Sponges, good. Porifera. What's this? Take anything.
Us.
Us. Okay, I'll take us. All right, that's good. All right, sponges, what's next? Jellyfish, all right. Nigeria, good. What's next?
Flatworm.
Flatworms, roundworms, earthworms. You all got the worms, good. All right. Got 3 left. These 2 go together. Let's see here. So, in some ways, all of these go together. Let me see here. These markers stink. All right, in some ways, all of these go together. In some ways, all of these go together. In other ways, we can divide them. Wait, where am I here? In some ways, these go together and these go together. This is good. I like looking at it like this. Okay, so let's just think about this for a minute. What's the big blue circle? What do I through O have in common that the sponges and the jellyfish do not? Pardon? Good night. Here, let's do that. So purple. Okay, so purple says we have a gut. Good. We have a gastrula. Okay? What separates the blue from the purple?
Digestive system.
Pardon?
Digestive system. Yeah.
You're on the right, you're thinking well. I don't know if I'm willing to commit to that, but you're thinking right.
Or would orange be the one that has 2 holes? When that comes in one,
So these are diploblasts, right? H, which means everything else is a
triple.
triploblast. So blue is triploblast. Okay, good. I and J are different. They're both triploblasts, but they're not the same as everything in orange, right? What does everything in orange have? Next layer of development, next major advancement. So triploblasts, you have acylamates, pseudocoelamates, and coelamates. Okay? Good there. Now red, what is red? There's something different between K, L, and M, and N and O. Do you know what N and O are? Do you know what O is?
Was it backbone?
Yeah, it's got chordates. Chordates. Right idea. There's 2 of them that don't have a backbone, everything else does. So O is a chordate. That marker's terrible. Do you know what N is?
That's thumbs.
What do you see? You see? Why am I holding up this hand spread out like this? If I was going like this, what would you automatically get? Jellyfish, right? But if I just hold up this, what am I holding out to you? Just say what you see. What do you see?
Would it be like an insect? Would it be just fire?
How do you get an insect out of it? Tell me. Are you looking at my hand or are you looking at the board?
No, the hand, multiple legs.
Oh, okay. Okay. How many legs do insects have? 6. How many things do I have? 5. What has 5?
That's the pencil one, right? The
Secondary pentaradial symmetry. Who has that?
starfish.
Starfish. Echinoderms. Okay. So chordates, these are echinoderms. There is something that echinoderms and chordates have that's different than everybody else here. Do you know what it is? Actually, there's 2 things that go hand in hand. Okay, let's go back and think. Ready? So, what does everybody up here have? G through O. Let me draw that.
That's
No, that's plants. Okay, G through O, everybody has this. What is it? All right, let's back up further. As we're talking about this, you don't look at a jellyfish and go, oh, we have things in common. You don't do that, right? You would never, and certainly don't look at you and a sponge and go, oh, we're both animals. A sponge doesn't even look like it's alive, right? It just looks like some thing in the ocean. So where do I have to go to look at to go, oh, you look like a, at what stage, what thing do you look like a jellyfish? Do you look like a sponge? Do you look like an anything? What do I have to look at? I can't look at your eyeballs. They don't have eyeballs. I could maybe compare your eyes with like a dog's eyes, or I could compare them with a lobster's eyes, but I can't compare them with a sponge or a jellyfish's eyes. They don't have eyes. What can I compare between you and them to look at your development and how similar or different you are?
Cells.
Which cells?
Uh,
In other words, what's the green level?
calcium.
Nope.
No.
You're very close.
Sorry, the bastion.
The blastula. Okay. Ontogeny refers to development. Ontological means developmental. So your ontogeny recapitulates your phylogeny. This is actually a term from evolutionary theory. Okay, I don't buy it, but I as far as phylogeny, as far as like how things are related, I'll buy that. So how you develop recapitulates. What root word do you see in recapitulates? Recap. It recaps for us, like, how you're related to other things. So when I look at how you develop, when I look at you at the embryological level, so like a egg, sperm, zygote, and it begins to grow. It forms a blastula, and then a gastrula, and then I watch how that gastrula develops. That's going to tell me how you're related to things. I cannot look at you and a sponge and see the mind of God and how there's a relationship between these two things. They don't look at all alike until I look at them at the ontological developmental level, okay? And then I can see it. So why does that matter? Because everything we're doing right here is looking like in a microscope at an egg and a sperm, watching them develop. Everything. So when you look at the order that we have in this, right, and you start thinking, and I start going, okay, well, what is the green? What's the purple? What's the blue? What's the orange? What's the red? What's the brown? What's the difference between them? You've got to think at that little ball of cells, because that's where it begins. That's where we can see, it's the only place you're going to see anything relative, developmentally similar between you and a jellyfish. So, the blastula, that ball of cells, right? Every animal has that. Plants don't have that hollow ball of cells. Fungus don't have it. Certainly, unicellular organisms don't have it. It's only animals, okay? And then, does that thing form into a gut? Well, it does for jellyfish and everything else, but it does not for sponges. Okay, now we've got a gut, but do I have 2 or do I have 3 germ layers? No one has 4. Do I have 2 or do I have 3? Well, I only have one thing that has 2, and that's a jellyfish. Everything else has 3. Okay? But now, so what's the difference between the 3s? How do I separate them? Well, there's this thing called a coelom. These guys don't have it. These guys have a pseudocoelom. Everybody else has a coelom. Okay? Well, now how do I determine the difference between the things that have a coelom? With all these guys that are coelomates, and I think, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at the gastrula development, right? I'm looking at the early embryological development. Everything here, give me a, ready? Here we go. Big ball of cells. What is this? Blastula. What's the first thing that happens now? What happens from here? Huh? No, that's cell division. But what's happening here?
It creates the gut.
Yeah. So show me a gut forming. You got to start to have it fold in, right? That's literally what happens. It makes a donut. Okay? It starts to fold in on one side, and then it starts to fold in on the other, and it forms a donut. And that hole in the middle is your mouth and your anus, right? I mean, you realize that, like, you're just one big, long donut. That's all you are. I'm teasing about that, but God has this is the plan for every single animal after a jellyfish. Is that this folds in, and this folds in, and everything, and that becomes your GI tract. Everything else develops around that. So that's what we're following here. Well, when I get to the KLM, what I'm wanting to know is, go ahead, do this, ready? What I'm asking is, what does this make? This first little hole, what does it make? A mouth or an anus? That's all I want to know.
No.
What does it make? A mouth. So it's a protostome. First mouth, right? So protostome. Marker that's going to work, give me a red. So these guys are protostomes. Good. Which makes these? You and the Nigerians, what does it make you? Okay, go back to this. What is this? Blastula. What is this? Gastrula, right? Blastula. Do it. Blastula, gastrula. Blastula, gastrula. Okay? Okay, now, I'm going to totally go home and teach this to my kids. Okay, so here's a blastula, here's a gastrula. In a protostome, this is a mouth. In the deuterostome, this is a anus. Okay? All right. Does that make sense? Okay. You got to know it like this. Like at this level. I didn't give you this chart. I hadn't thought to give you this chart, but this is just another way of thinking about it. You got to know it inside and out. Okay? All right. What's a coelom? You must know your vocabulary. If you've got a word on there, you got to know it. A coelom is a fluid-filled body cavity in which organs develop. That's where your liver, your kidneys, all that developed inside of a coelom. Okay? These guys don't have that. By the way, let's go back to this for 1 second. What is H? Or I'm sorry, what is G? What's G?
Peripheral.
Huh?
Peripheral.
Porifera. Good. H? Cnidaria. I? You told me a minute. What y'all told me? What are we into with I, J, and K? We're into
Worms.
the worms, right? So these are the flatworms. So this, what I told you, blank means flat.
Flat.
Plat means flatworm. So when you see platyhelminthes, you know that's a flatworm. Okay? So that's the flatworms. What's next?
Round.
Roundworms. Those are nematodes. Okay? These are earthworms, right? What phylum? Annelida. Okay? What's next in my protostomes? I got my earthworms, then I've got
Snail.
mollusks. Mollusca. Next, arthropods. Next, echinoderms and chordates. Take a picture of this. What does this mean? How you develop recaps who you're related to. You would never look at a sponge. A sponge doesn't move. You would never look at a sponge and go, oh yeah, we're distant cousins. God, made us along some similar plans. Never, until you go look at the blastula. And then you're like, oh, we both have a blastula, but plants don't have a blastula, so that thing has to be an animal. Because all animals begin with a blastula. So that thing and God made us with some similar characteristics different from everything else. And then you've got gastrula, and then all these other things, right? So, all right. Things you got to know. I mean, basically every single, you understand every single vocabulary word on there, you must know. So we've got things so far like, what do we have? What I asked you and you didn't know, coelom, pseudocoelom, acoelom. You'll never understand I through O if you don't know those words. Never. You have no chance. Okay? You got to know blastula and gastrula. Right? Protostome and deuterostome. Okay? Radial and spiral cleavage. Okay. Any vocabulary, every single word that I've been giving you guys in this whole unit, you must know. You have no chance if you don't. So if you don't know it, you gotta go look it up.
Will this be uploaded?
I'm sorry,
Will this be uploaded?
one more time. The
Will
video?
this-
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. Okay. What's A and what's D? Prokaryote, good. What's D? Eukaryote, good. What's B? Archaea. Bacteria. What's E? Protist, good. What's this purple circle? Unicellular, good. What's F? Fungi. Plants. What's R? Animals, good, okay. What's H? Simplest animals. Porifera, sponges. I, Nidaria, jellyfish. J, flatworms. What means flat? Plat. What's the name for them? Platyhelminthes. Good. What's K? Roundworms. Anybody know it? Nematoda. L, earthworms. You know the phylum name? Yeah? It does. Annelida. Think of an earthworm named Anna. Here, I'm gonna help you. This, you'll remember this now. You'll remember that. If you stare at that intently and think of this little earthworm going, hi, I'm Annelida, you'll remember that. And then you'll know. Okay. Earthworms. Annelida, what's next? Arthropods. Very good. Next. No, oh no, we missed one. What's this? And to be honest with you, these two, we could switch these. Okay? If you put arthropods here instead of here, Arthropods and mollusks. Good. What's this?
Starfish.
Starfish. What characteristic? What's happening on the surface of them? You ever felt a starfish? They're not smooth. They're not soft like a mollusk. They're spiky. They're spiny. Their name literally means spiny skin. What word means skin? Derm. Spiny is echino. Yeah, that's weird, right? Echinoderm. Here. Chordata. This is you. Okay. So good. So if I gave you something like this, and if I went, hey, what is the purple? Or what is the red? Or what is the orange? Or what is the brown? Or what is the green? Okay. What's the purple? Blastula. What's the red? Gastrula. What's the orange? Triploblast. What's the brown? Okay. These guys have a coelom. In fact, L through Q has a coelom, so it's not just that, because these are separated from those. So what is this? Oh, I need another circle. That's why y'all are saying that. Do I have any other colors? Okay, I'm going back to purple. Okay, what's this inner purple? Go ahead and say what we just said. Coelom. Good. What's the brown? No. What are we talking about every time here? What level of ontogeny are we talking about? Okay, ready? Let's go back. What level is this? Show me this. Show me purple. Blastula. Show me red. Gastrula, right? Now, when I get to the purple level, I'm not just talking about the gastrula, I'm now talking about the whole thing, right? I'm here, I'm forming this donut. I want to know about the donut. In particular, I want to know about this end of the donut. What is this? Protostome. This is deuterostome. Okay, back again. Purple, show me purple. Good. Show me red. Good. Show me inner purple. You gotta make a donut. Okay, cross section of a donut and wiggle this. What is this? Protostome. What is this? Deuterostome. One more time. Ready? This? Blastula. This? Gastrula. Give me a donut. Wiggle the bottom. Protostome. Wiggle the top. Deuterostome. Okay? If you were an earthworm, your mouth would be down there. Just think about that. You're different than them. Something that goes along with being a protostome or a deuterostome is cleavage. How the cells divide. Do they spiral as they divide, or do they stack? Okay, your cells they stack. Everybody in green stacks. Everybody in brown spirals. Okay. These guys stack, but then the stacking later does weird things, and they have what's called secondary pentaradial symmetry. So they begin with bilateral symmetry, just cell stacking, then eventually those stacks split out into 5 things, right? Or multiples of 5 things. Okay. If I have a concentration of nerve cells in the anterior end, what is that called? No. You're right with the letter, though. Concentration of nervous tissue and organs in the anterior end. I guess you need to know what an anterior end is. Point to your anterior end. Point your posterior end. Okay, so your anterior end, concentrate, basically what am I saying here when I say a concentration of nervous tissues and organs? Brain and ears and eyes, and all your stuff. You don't taste with your hands, right? You don't hear with your feet. How weird would that be? If your eyes were in your belly, that would be so strange. You keep it all up here. It's called cephalization. You must know that one. Okay. All right. Well, you gotta know this stuff. It will be at least this level on the test, okay? When you go on, I know right now this feels miserable and like, why does it need to be this hard? And you know, I know this level of things is not fun. But this is what it takes to really know it. And if you're, this, I think at some point in the near future when you get into other classes, just somebody making you go like, no, you gotta go at this level, and you gotta study it in all these different ways, right? Because I'm making you study this at like 4, 5, 6 different ways to really know it. I think at some point that's going to become a skill that's very important for you for success in other classes. Even if you don't do science, you're going to come across, when you get on, especially when you get out of here and you go on to a 4-year university, you're going to come across classes that if you can do this, you're going to succeed. And if you can't, you're going to change majors like a bunch of times. Because there will be this level of depth and harder over and over and over again. It's a skill to learn how to dissect things and figure out how to study it. And sometimes we can come across it naturally, like we'll just figure it out for ourselves, and sometimes we got to be shown. But we'll never do it if we don't have to do it, So try, as hopefully you're going to do this, you're really going to study to this depth so that you can just crush this test. I mean, can you imagine if you can do all the things that we just did, this test won't be hard to look, right? It really won't. But if you can't, it will crush you. So you'll crush it or it'll crush you, by and large. But as you study, just remember, you're not just doing this for this test. You're learning to do this for the rest of your stuff. I guarantee you'll remember even this conversation at some point in the next 2 to 3 years. There's no way you won't. And drawings. Remember at some point how good a silly drawing or a phrase will be, or a song. Now there's content we don't have in here, but like if we were doing AP bio, it's stuff that's on the AP test. You have to know things like what hormones do and all kinds of stuff. Like just a silly, I would always sing for them, my freshmen in biology, I would sing for them. Hormones are chemical messengers, hurrah, hurrah. Steroids include estrogen and testosterone, amino acids, insulin, take it that glucose, make glycogen, so you don't die of a diabetic coma while you're all alone. I'd make them memorize that and sing it with me. We'd clap, we'd do all this stuff. But in that one simple, silly thing, you learn like hormones are chemical messengers. You've heard the word hormone, but did you know that literally it's a chemical message from your brain or from different parts of your body to the rest of your body? Hormones are chemical messengers, hurrah, hurrah. There are 2 types. Steroids are one type. Later on we'll get amino acids. Steroids include estrogen and testosterone. Amino acids are the other type. Amino acids, insulin. Insulin is an example of an amino acid hormone that's signaling your body. Amino acids, insulin, what does insulin do? Take up that glucose, the sugar that you make glycogen, store it, like a plant stores starch, so you don't die of a diabetic. Silly thing, but you learn like 5 or 6 things in that. One little worm that says, hi, I'm Anna Lita. Like you can remember that, right? And all of a sudden you'll remember, like, little drawings can be so helpful. Or little phrases. Flat, or plat means flat. Like, so because you've heard it a few times now. When you see Platelominthes, you go, oh, that's an earthworm. Or thinking about how on here I got 3 worms in a row, right? Flatworms, roundworms, earthworms. And they're advancing. Well, my earthworms, oh yeah, that's Anna, Annalita. Okay, flat means flat. Those little things, if you'll just think about your thinking, will pay off. All right. Where are we at here? Probably need to get moving. We don't have a ton of time. If I run out of time, okay, then what I will do is I will fill this out for you and send it to you if we don't finish this, okay? You got it, which I'll do that for you anyways, okay? But you got to be able to, you've got one that's blank. You got to be able to just do this on your own. Okay. So we are on to arthropods. How am I on my time? Okay, we're halfway through. Arthropods. The name means jointed foot. Do you think you're going to have to know that? Yeah. Right? Pod. Pod and stome. These are some of those Greek prefixes, right? Pod and stome. Stome you've seen before in stomata, in protostome, in deuterostome. It means mouth. Pod means foot. You go to a podiatrist, he looks at your feet. Now you know. Okay, so arthropod, arthro means jointed. Arthritis, think of that. Where do you hurt if you have arthritis?
Joint.
In your joints. So that's an easy way to think about it. Think about other words that are associated with it. Arthritis, I hurt in my joints. Arthropod, that's jointed foot. And these things will come, okay? All right, so we have arthropods, insects, spiders, mites, everything with a shell, not like a seashell, right? Not made of calcium carbonate, but everything that's like kind of hard but also kind of crunchy, like you can crunch it with your foot. All of those are arthropods, and the reason for that is they all have the exact same thing. It's chitin. Chitin's a polysaccharide that you came across before. Remember when we looked at everything that has cell walls and we looked at what they're made out of? And plants had cellulose and fungus had chitin. Isn't that wild? The same stuff that makes a fungal cell wall is the same thing that makes a spider crunchy. It's the exact same polysaccharide. Evolutionarily, that doesn't make any sense, if evolution is a thing. But in God's economy, yeah, it kind of does. So these guys have exoskeletons. What do you do with your skeleton? What's your skeleton good for? Structure. Okay, what do you do with your skeleton? Okay, so it helps you to stand here. Great, so here I am standing because I have structure of a skeleton. What good is this? If that's all it did, then this is me running, this is me jumping, this is me eating, this is me petting a cat. What do I do with my skeleton?
Move.
How?
For the muscles attached to it.
I connect muscles and tendons and ligaments and things to my skeleton. So they have, your skeleton becomes an anchor. And so I can contract something and parts move. They don't have an interior skeleton like you do. They have an exterior skeleton. They connect their muscles, their tendons, their ligaments to the exterior skeleton. Think about that. Watch a bug move. Like it's literally contracting muscles against its exterior. You're doing the same thing on the interior. It's really amazing. So we have arthropods. The name means jointed foot, right? All have a highly segmented bodies with exoskeletons. If they didn't, if they have tons of joints, like different pleats of armor. If they didn't, they couldn't move. Imagine, what would life be like if you didn't have knees and elbows? Think about it. You'd have to go like this, right? You'd have to go like, and I could never get it to my mouth, right? I'd have to like catch it. You have all these joints, and so do they. They have to, or they can't move. Okay, highly segmented. Okay, we're talking. You gotta know chitin. Okay, if you don't, you must. That'll be there. The same polysaccharide found in the cells of fungi. These range in size and complexity from a simple insect with how many pairs of walking legs? How many? It has 6. It has 6 legs. It's an insect. You're gonna have to know that, okay? Where am I here? 6 pairs of jointed feet to lobsters and crabs. They got a lot more than 6. This phyla is the most numerous of all God's creation. There are more insects than probably than all other more types of insects at least, than all other types of animals combined. They're just wildly numerous. Highly specialized. I want you to think about this for a second. Plants and animals are specialized. They're just well suited. And there are certain plants that can only be fertilized or pollinated by specific insects. They target them. There are some that like they'll look like the female of that insect species, so that the males will come and pollinate them, trying to reproduce themselves, and you reproduce for the flower instead. There are certain insects that are just so highly specified that they live on like one type of plant. They're incredibly diverse, but incredibly specific at the same time, or specialized at the same time. They swim, they fly, they walk, they molt when they outgrow their exoskeleton. Okay. We're here in Texas. Do you remember what happens late summer every year? All of a sudden the air gets filled with this bzzz, non-stop annoying sound. What are those? Not mosquitoes. Cicadas, right? And you don't see cicadas that often, do you? What do you see? Their shells. What was happening is they attached. They've been growing. They need to grow. They're ready to grow, but they can't because they have this exoskeleton of chitin. And so they've got to attach to something, shed their exoskeleton, stretch out as big as they can while the new one hardens, relax a little bit, and then they can move around until it's time to molt again. So when they molt, they leave behind their exoskeleton. What molecules are they leaving behind? Chitin. Okay. That thing is pure chitin. All right. Echinodermata. The name means spiny skin. No, my English was bad there. These began as true coelomates with bilateral symmetry, but radial rather than spiral cleavage, with radial rather. I don't know what I was writing there. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. They begin just like us. Okay? So, remember there are 2 types of cleavage. One is where it kind of forms this spiral shape. Right? So as the cells develop, they kind of do this. You get a spiral pattern. Like, as the cells divide, they twist. The other is radial cleavage. And in radial cleavage, they just kind of stack. That's you, and that's also an echinoderm. You could draw how many lines of symmetry down you? 1. Bilateral symmetry. Flatworms, earthworms, all of them, just 1. These guys start off with just 1, but pretty quickly as this is going, they start to kind of do this. Right? Very, very early. And then eventually this is not how they begin. They begin like this, bilateral symmetry, but quickly they develop secondary pentaradial symmetry, right? You would never would you look at a sea urchin and go, oh yeah, that's actually, like, God made me and the sea urchin closer together in relation than anything else. You've got to go to that ontological level to see that. A sea urchin, you probably don't at first notice that a sea urchin even has secondary pentaradial symmetry, but if you were to look at it at like there's order to those spines and to those spikes, and you could look at it and you could count them, and you could see they're going to divide by 5. Guaranteed. Okay. All right. These guys. They begin with a true coelom, bilateral symmetry, but then and spiral radial rather than spiral cleavage in the blastula. As they develop, several unique things occur. They start to move from bilateral symmetry to pentaradial symmetry, with multiples of 5 appendages, etc. The first cavity to form does not become a mouth like the simpler animals, but instead becomes an anus, because they're what kind of stones? Deuterostomes. Good. And then the second cavity becomes the mouth, hence the term deuterostome. These organisms eviscerate their stomachs and digest food externally, moving the stomach back in along with a soup of digested food. It's disgusting. So, a starfish will come up to a clam or something like that, and it has these suction feet, and it's so strong, so powerful. It will adhere to the surface, and it will rip that thing open. Like this. Everybody look up. Come on, John. Come on. Do it. Up, up, up. Sit up. Everybody take your hands. This is a clam. Okay? Do a clam. Now, the starfish takes the clam. Hold it near your belly button. Hold your belly. It opens it up, and then through a hole in the center. Now, I'm having you do it here because its mouth is right about here, where your belly button would be. It pushes its stomach outside of its body and into that clamshell area. Excretes digestive enzymes, breaks down all that clam body, which is soft anyways, and then slurps it all back in. That's how all of these guys eat. Kind of gross, right? Yeah, good times. Okay. You got any questions about echinoderms?
You said you said that they make the hole with the...
Those are the, no, these guys they'll just split it open. Their feet are so strong they can just open it up. That you're thinking of mollusks. All of them except for the bivalves have what's called a radula. And it can basically just grind back and forth through a shell and open it up. It's pretty neat. Make a hole in it anyways, and then, yeah. Okay. Next up is chordata. So this certainly includes everything with a backbone. There are 2 others, Urochordata and Cephalochordata. I don't care that you know those. Those are obscure things that every once in a while you need to know for a test. If you had to take an AP test, I'd make you know those, because you would have to know those, but you're not doing that, so we're not worried. Just someday maybe it'll come up and you're like, oh yeah, there are 2 others, and you can look those up. But basically it's everything with a backbone, as well as the 2 that don't, Cephalochordata, Urochordata. All chordates possess the same 5 chordate characteristics at some point in their development. Notochord, dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, postanal tail, and basically a thyroid gland. Okay. As they develop, they all have a very similar body plan. Kind of looks like this. Oh, that's not very good. Notochord, dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, postanal tail. What am I missing here? Oh, you got a thyroid gland. Am I missing anything? Yeah, I think I got it. Okay. So, what does that look like? Looks like things you've seen, right? What does it look like? Tadpoles look kind of like that, don't they? Baby fish kind of look like some simple little fish. But so do you when you're like just a few days old. Okay? You have all these, you look very much like this. So this, what do you think that is? You just look at where it's at. Yeah, yeah. Mouth. Anus. Now this is a diploblast, so when we think about this, that becomes that. And then eventually it grows and it develops. But so that's an anus, that's a mouth. What's this down here? It's a tail. We call it that. It's called the post-anal tail. Where's your post-anal tail? You don't have one. You don't have one. These cells change shape. The body plan change shape. Pharyngeal slits. What would this be on a fish? What is right here on a fish?
Gills.
Gills. Okay. Touch your version of that. I had mine removed. What do people have removed that's right around here? Tonsils and stuff. Yeah. Not only your tonsils, but okay. Dorsal hollow nerve cord. What's your dorsal hollow nerve cord?
Your
Okay. So all these things were present in you at a few days old. And they're present in all chordates, everything with a backbone. But not necessarily all evident later on as they develop. You've got to go back to that ontological, embryological level to see all this. Okay? These are fairly common things that you would have to know about chordates, because they're true of chordates, but they're not true of mollusks, they're not true of anything else. Right? And there are 5 chordate characteristics. I know they're listed there for you, but you've got a dorsal hollow nerve cord. All right, you've got a notochord. You have pharyngeal slits. You've got a postanal tail. And you have a thyroid gland. Good news is I'm not going to make you tell me the 5 characteristics, chordate characteristics. But if I put on there randomly notochord, and I told you, and I asked you which phylum had a notochord, back's fair game, you better know it to see it. When you see it, you got to recognize it. Okay? So you might, I would spend a little bit of time with that. You do not have to be able to recite all of them to me, but you do have to recognize them. in an alternate world where you're at a 4-year university, you must have those 5 memorized. In fact, you probably better be able to tell me everything they become in a human. All right. Well, shall we continue? Got 20 minutes. Which phyla does it belong to? Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Nematode, Mollusca, Annelida, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, or Chordata? Stinging cells, where will I find those? Oh, y'all need a minute. Sorry, go ahead and get this out. Do you have a copy of this? Cool. All right. Stinging cells, where will I find that? Cnidaria, good. What are they called? You remember? It's coming up. All right. So stinging cells are Cnidaria. Acoelomates. Which ones are the acoelomates?
The flat.
Yeah, Platyhelminthes. Good. Which ones are asymmetrical? No lines of symmetry. Porifera. Good. Which ones have a backbone?
Chordata.
Chordata. Which one includes birds? Chordata. Bivalves. Name a bivalve.
Mollusca.
Mollusca. Good. Something like a clam or something like that. Butterflies. They are insects, so where do they belong? Arthropods. Good. Cerebral ganglia. Who did we talk about having, like, that's their version of a brain? They're the first ones to show cephalization.
I want to say Annelida, but.
No, sir.
Mollusca?
Nope. You were closer with Annelida.
Nematode?
Platyhelminthes. Chitin. Arthropods, good. By the way, I would treat this as a vocabulary list, right? Because if you don't know what these are, forget it. So it's fair game for me to tell you, hey, what phylum there are, but it'll also be very fair for me to give you a definition and go, which thing is it? Without a vocabulary list. You must know it. Cnidocytes. What are they? What do they sound like? Cnidaria. They sound like Cnidaria. They're the stinging cells. Coral. Cnidaria. Good. Crabs. Nope. No. No backbone. What do they have instead of a backbone? What do they have instead of bones? Exoskeleton. So they are arthropods. Good. Your one and only diploblast. Which one is it? Cnidaria. Dorsal hollow nerve cord. Chordata. Earthworms. What's her name? Annelida. I'm telling you, you're going to come across that and smile in the test. That's what's going to happen. Evisceration of the stomach.
Starfish.
Starfish, which are?
Echinoderm.
Echinoderms. Good. Very good. Take a minute. Make sure you're all caught up. Okay. Exoskeleton. Arthropods. External digestion of food. Echinoderms. Hookworms. you don't know much about, right?
But,
Not flat. The other one,
so,
nematode. Good. Horseshoe crabs, arthropods. Humans, chordata. Hydrozoa, Nigeria, good. Insects, arthropods. Jellyfish, Nigeria. Jointed foot, arthropods. Have you all noticed a lot of jellyfish, or a lot of Nigeria and arthropods? Leeches. What are they related to?
slugs, snails.
Not the slugs and snails. What did you say? Speak up.
Mollusks.
The flatworms?
No, not flatworms. You're on the right track though. Earthworms. Earthworms, Christmas tree worms, and leeches. They're all in the phylum Annelida. All right. Then you have lobsters. Arthropods. Mantle. It's a structure within a, it secretes a shell. Often secretes a shell. It's a chamber that they'll use to breathe out of, possibly reproduce out of.
Mm.
Medusa. Show me a Medusa. Right, just think of the name Medusa, right? Think of the snakes coming down. Think of making it with your head. So what is this? It's Nigeria. Okay. Metamerization. You got to know what that word means if you're going to know who has it, right? Do you remember what it is? Repeated body units. Who has repeated, just segmented body units over and over, the exact same kind? Uh-uh. How did you draw your earthworm? Didn't you draw just little rings over and over and over and over and over and over again? That's metamerization. That ring thing is just it's a repeat of the exact same thing. That's metamerization.
So is earthworms? Or
Annelida.
Annelida?
Yeah. Mites. Do you know what mites are?
Like little bugs, right?
Yeah, that'll be good enough for now. They're actually arachnids, but spiders, ticks, and mites are arachnids. But arachnids are arthropods, so you're thinking in the right vein. The most numerous.
Insects.
Yeah,
Arthropods.
arthropods, good. This thing has a mouth but no anus. Not just a gut, but a mouth.
Red one?
Nope. You've drawn this many, many
Is
times.
this one?
Flatworms.
Yeah.
Platyhelminthes. A muscular foot. It's actually a defining characteristic of this organism, type of organism. What has basically the equivalent of one big foot made out of muscle, and that's how it moves? Can you picture a giant foot in your head? Now make it crazy, crazy muscular. You don't have 2 feet, you only have 1 foot, so you're just going to have to somehow move on this 1 foot. What are you? What do you look like? You might look like a snail or a slug, wouldn't you? They're the most evident of why this is called a muscular foot. And snails and slugs have that shell, right? Or at least the snails do. What organism is this? It's a mollusk. Good. When you get to the test and you see muscular foot, I want you to think of only one foot, giant muscle, and little snail eyes sticking out, okay? That'll go a long way. Where are we?
No true tissue.
No true tissues. Which animal has no true tissues? There's only one. Sponges. Good. Sponges for no true tissues. Notochord and pharyngeal slits. Both these would go together. Touch your pharyngeal slits. Or pharynx, right? You know what a pharynx is, don't you? Right. Okay, so that's you, right? So it's a chordate. Pinworms. Type of roundworm, which is a nematoda. Yep. A polyp. Show me a polyp.
Up, right?
Show me a medusa. Here's a medusa, here's a polyp. Medusa, polyp. One moves, the other is sessile. In other words, it doesn't move, okay? It's anchored. Same basic body plan, just up. Moving, anchored. Good job on that. Okay, where are we at? Post-anal tail. Who has a post-anal tail? Chordata. All right. Next up is pseudocoelomates. Which ones are these? Think of acoelomates and pseudocoelomates and coelomates. Just think of them on your chart going across.
Nematoda.
It's roundworms. Good.
Nematoda.
Nematoda. Good. Radial symmetry, not secondary pentaradial symmetry, but just true radial symmetry. There's only one. What is it? Cnidaria. Radula. Who has a radula? What's a radula for? It's for drilling. Who drills?
Lost.
Mollusks. It's how one mollusk drills into another. Sea anemones, my favorite little watery animal. Cnidaria. It's the thing that Nemo hangs out with. Are you guys too young to have seen that movie? I'm too old to have seen it, but I was hoping you weren't too young to have seen it. I was a grown man, dude. All right, here we go. And no kids yet. Sea squirts. You can just, I'm not going to give you sea squirts. You can cross that out. But it would have been accordion. Sea stars. Echinodermata. Sea urchins. Echinodermata. Secondary pentaradial symmetry. Echinodermata. The simplest alimentary canal, so the first thing to go all the way from mouth to anus.
Plateau?
Nope, they have the one mouth.
Oh,
With no
correct,
anus.
and the Nigeria.
No, they only have a gut. Think about it going across your chart, right? So
Oh.
you got periphery, nothing.
Oh,
Then you've got Nidaria with just a gut, then you've got flatworms that have a mouth but no anus, and then the next one has the whole thing. Nematoda. What's next here? Where am I at? Simplest coelomates. So the first thing to have a true coelom, what is it? Huh? Annelida. Good. And they really are the simplest. They have the least complex nervous system and reproductive system, least complex of everything. All right, where are we at? Simplest deuterostomes, what are they? Well, you gotta know what a deuterostome is. Show me a deuterostome. Show me with your hands. All right, who has this? There are only two.
It's Echinodermata, the simplest.
Echinodermata and chordata. Which one is the simplest?
Echinodermata.
Echinodermata. Where else are we at here?
Organism like that.
Simplest of the gut.
Organism with a simplest organism with a gut. What is it?
Nigeria.
Nidaria. Simplest organism with cephalization. What is it? You gotta have a head if you're gonna have cephalization. What's the first thing with a head?
Flat.
Platyhelminthes. Good. Simplest triploblast. So the first thing to have 3 distinct germ layers.
Annelida?
Nope.
Flat.
Platyhelminthes. Good. Simplest thing with radial cleavage. So there's spiral and there's radial cleavage. Radial cleavage goes along with one other characteristic. What is it?
Echinodermata.
It is Echinodermata. It goes along with
Um,
deuterostome.
Deuterostome.
Good. Very good. Snails, where do they belong? Mollusks. Good. Spiders, where do they belong? Arthropods. Spiny skin. Echinodermata. Like, actually, that's the name, right? Squid. Mollusks. Ticks. Arthropods. Turtles.
Would it be arthropods as well?
No, sir. You're thinking of that shell, and I can appreciate that. But they only have a shell on the back, right? They're not like a mollusk. They're not soft. But you pick up a turtle, you'll find out. They're not soft bodied. They're chordates. Yeah. Turtles can be mean, by the way. I don't know if you know this. I had
Yeah,
one
and their
pee-
bites hurt.
I had one pee on me. I found one crossing the road. I was like, oh, my kids will love this. So I grabbed the turtle. It's going crazy. I had to hold it up. It was trying to bite me the whole time. I had to hold it upside down by its shell, and then it peed on me. When it peed on me, it went for a ride. I was done.
Being part never happened to me, but biting, I've had turtle biting.
My little boy got bit trying to feed one. They named it Tilly, and he was feeding Tilly, and he got way too close to Tilly's mouth. Didn't go well.
Wait, which one is spiny skin?
Echinodermata. Oh, visceral mass. It's the very last one. Who has a visceral mass? Visceral means like inside, so it's like this big old. It's a mollusk. Probably about that time. Wow, we did great. Okay, well, if you need anything answered, I'm here.
What was notochord?
Number what?
Notochord?
Notochord is, that's a chordate characteristic. soon as you see that word cord, think cord 80, okay?
Is it the same for wireless?
Yeah. I would encourage you guys, that exercise we did at the beginning of looking at all of them across and what are the links and all that, I would know that. I think that's gonna help. That and the vocabulary, if you can do that and the vocabulary, you know, knowing what each thing is, you'll crush this test. You'll do very well. I will see you guys Tuesday. All right,
Thank you.
bye. Have a great one.
Everything.
You will. Your sister have a good time?